welcome you to a, I'm pleased to welcome you to my dog sitting on my lap. Uh, I'm very pleased to welcome you to what I can't wait to hear. Will be, I'm sure, a delightful and intriguing discussion by the now curator of the University of Arizona Museum of Art, Olivia Miller. She will speak to us about the disappearance and reappearance of the DeKooning painting, Woman Ochre, and we'll take questions through chat. If you choose to ask, we will ask those at the end. I have, Olivia has been the curator at the Museum of Art since 2012 and is currently completing her dissertation, her PhD dissertation on the Leonard Pfeiffer collection, which is sort of the the whole collection upon which the museum is based, the seminal collection. So I would advise you of three things. By this time, you probably are real competent with that. Number one, if you would mute yourself during the presentation. This will be recorded. And also on the upper right, you know that there is a view option. We would suggest that you select speaker view. And again, may I direct your attention to the chat feature, which hopefully by now you know is on the bottom. In order to participate in that, simply select it, type your question in, and we will save those questions until the end. If there is nothing further, let's begin with Olivia speaking to us, and take it away, Olivia.
All right, thank you, Judy. Thank you all so much for having me and for sharing your morning with me. I'm very excited to speak to you all. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And I'm also going to share my sound. That looks like it's ready to go. So there's going to be two audio components. It's possible that you'll need to adjust your volume for those two things. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you. So today I'm going to be talking about the disappearance and reappearance of Woman Ochre. So part of this presentation might be a little bit of a repeat for some of you if you've heard a similar talk before, but I think it's now been a long time, and so I think it's good that I kind of start from the beginning, and for anybody who has never heard the story, I think it'll be really good background. And then so I'm going to basically tell the story of this painting, how it came to be, how it ended up at the University of Arizona. I will talk about the circumstances of its theft, as well as its incredible recovery. And then I will also give you a current status update. So things to look forward to, as well as when you can actually come to our museum and see the painting in person. So lots of exciting things to talk about. So the painting over here on the right, this is the whole focus of the talk. This is Woman Ochre, painted by DeKooning in 1954, 1955. It is oil, and actually it should be oil and charcoal on canvas. And it's roughly 40 by 30 inches. And it was donated to us by this man over on the far left. That is Edward Gallagher, Jr. So if you ever come and visit our museum and you peruse the galleries and you read the labels, Edward Gallagher Jr. is a name that you will see time and time again. He proved hugely generous and influential for the development of our museum. Over the course of 20 years, he donated roughly 200 works of art to our museum, including Woman Ochre. He also left us an endowment, and over the years with the annual interest, we've been able to purchase more than 1,300 works of art for the collection. So I really can't stress the impact that Edward Gallagher Jr. has made. So who on earth was this man? Why did he like the U of A so much? Edward Gallagher Jr. was actually from Baltimore. He did not live in Arizona. He was from Baltimore. His family had been there for generations. They worked a lot in real estate, in insurance. He was also an architect, but he loved Arizona because when he was growing up, he was a little bit sickly. And the doctor recommended that he go to a place with sunshine. And so his family would bring him out to Arizona. So he went to the Grand Canyon. And then even as he grew into adulthood, he would continue to come back to Arizona and he would work on a dude ranch near Tombstone. So he loved Arizona. He loved kind of vacationing out west. And when he had his son, who is painted in that portrait on the right, Eddie III, he also brought his son out to Arizona. So there was this very sort of important nostalgic part of Arizona that he held close to him. This donation came to be because he ended up reading an article about the University of Arizona in November 1953 in Life magazine. So this Life magazine article was talking all about this wonderful art donation. So many of you may have shopped at Crest stores throughout your life. They're no longer there, but some of the buildings are. So these were a chain of 5 and dime stores operated by Samuel Crest. He was also an art collector who ended up giving away his entire collection. And so Life magazine wrote an article about this gift of art to the nation, and the University of Arizona was highlighted as one of the seats of this donation. So this detail stood out to Gallagher, and he wrote a letter to the University of Arizona asking about their art collection. And just 3 months later, he started what was to become the Edward Gallagher III Memorial Collection. So his son died at the age of 13, and so he created this memorial collection at the University of Arizona to honor the memory of his son. So Woman Ochre is a part of that memorial collection. What's really incredible too about this collection is that he built it over the course of 20 years. So he bought the artwork he donated, he selected specifically for the University of Arizona. And we'll talk more about that as it relates to Woman Ochre. Just to give you, some historic images, here's a couple of photos from 1983 when Woman Ochre was on display. It was often shown upstairs in the permanent collection gallery. So all of the works up here are from the permanent collection. However, it also traveled internationally. It traveled all throughout Europe. It even went to India. It did a tour through South America. So this was also a painting that went out on loan numerous times. And it was featured in many exhibition catalogs. It was really a popular painting, not only for display at the UAMA, but also for loans for other exhibitions. I'm showing you this. It's kind of a funny image. This is a staff member who is installing that sculpture by George Siegel. So it's a life-size plaster cast of a figure that stands behind a window. And he's being kind of funny and waving through the window. But for our purposes, what I like about this photo is that we can see Woman Ochre hanging in the background. This is the last known photo we have of Woman Ochre before it was stolen just a few months later. So this photograph was taken in the summer of 1985. And just a couple months later, the day after Thanksgiving, November 29th, 1985, the painting was stolen. So what we know about the theft is that it was early in the morning. So the museum was just opening up for the day. A couple of security guards had arrived, and one of the senior staff members was coming to work, and he saw a couple sitting in the courtyard in front of the building, waiting for it to open up. So he entered the museum because he was going to work, and the couple followed in behind him. They were allowed to stay. The security guard said, "That's fine. We're just about to open up, so you're welcome to come and visit the museum." However, the security guards had not fully taken their positions in the building. So what happened was that the couple started up the staircase you see here, and one of the security guards went to go up with them to take her position upstairs. The man continued up the stairs, and the woman distracted the guard and stopped her in the stairwell to talk about what we assume is this painting that still hangs there today. So she just distracted the security guard, talked to her about the painting, and about 5 to 10 minutes later, the man came back down and the couple very quickly left the museum. So the security guard thought that that was a bit strange. She continued upstairs, and that's when she discovered that woman ochre had been cut from its frame. And this is what was left behind. So I'll explain that image in just a second. Here I'm showing you one of the many, many police reports that were written. So this includes sort of the details, the witness statement that explains essentially what I told you just now. A couple of unfortunate things, well, many unfortunate things. The painting was stolen, but also this was 1985, and the museum did not have a security camera system in place at the museum. The couple did not leave behind any fingerprints. And at the time, the road, which today is now a pedestrian-only road, back in 1985, you could drive and park along that road. And so the couple had a very quick getaway, and they were not able to get a license plate number. They were only able to get a sort of color description of the car. It was described as a rust-colored sports sedan. So this is what was left behind. So essentially, you're looking at an empty canvas, but you can see that there's this brown piece on top. So I want to explain this because this is significant for the issues that conservators are now dealing with as they repair the painting. So what you're looking at here, this brown thing, is actually a canvas wax lining. So I had mentioned that Woman Ochre went on tour in other museum exhibitions. While it was on tour in Mexico, it was slightly damaged during transit. So there was a little puncture hole in the canvas. It went to the Museum of Modern Art in New York for repair. And while it was there, the conservators there decided to do what's called a wax lining. So a wax lining is where they essentially take another piece of canvas, they cover it in wax, and then they adhere it to the back of the canvas. And so the idea for this is that it reinforces the canvas and keeps it stable. This is now considered to be a pretty invasive conservation method and is only used when absolutely necessary. This was really sort of overkill. They never should have done this, but this was the standard at the time. What's significant for us in the condition of the painting is that you can see, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but in this image on the right, you can see that part of this wax lining has been cut through and then it stops. So in his haste, he sliced through both, and then he probably got confused, probably was not expecting a wax lining. And so what he ended up doing was peeling it like a sticker, peeling the painting off of its wax lining. This caused an enormous amount of damage to the painting. And I'll talk about that towards the end of the talk. So these are the police sketches. So the man was described as being in his early 20s, dark curly hair, glasses, and what appeared to be a fake mustache. The woman was described as being in her early 50s with strawberry blonde hair, and she was wearing a red scarf on her head. Both of them were also wearing trench coats. So why this painting? I think we're going to have to contend with the fact that there's going to remain some questions with this. I don't think we're ever going to be able to answer the question, why Woman Ochre? Because it wasn't the smallest artwork. It wasn't necessarily the easiest one to steal. It was actually in the furthest gallery. So it wasn't the closest one. It seems to have been targeted, that they came to this museum specifically to steal that painting. What we do know is that in 1985, DeKooning was still alive. By this time, his dementia had accelerated quite a bit. And so he wasn't really actively exhibiting or speaking, but he was still painting. His artworks, though, were fetching very high prices, into the millions. So he was a famous painter in his lifetime, and his artwork sold for high prices. So there's the fact of the matter that this was a valuable piece and they knew it. He's also most well known for his woman paintings. And so Woman Ochre, you may have had any number of reactions on seeing that painting. Some people think it's a masterpiece. Other people think, my God, why on earth would anybody want to steal that? It's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And this has kind of been the nature of DeKooning and his woman paintings. They are his most famous and also his most contentious artworks. And so for the sheer fame of having a woman painting, that makes it a big deal. DeKooning, he was actually from the Netherlands. At the age of 20, he stowed away on a ship from Rotterdam and came to the United States. And so he developed although he did do art training in the Netherlands and worked for a prestigious design firm, he really came into his own as an independent artist in the United States, and was part of the abstract expressionist movement that emerged from World War II. So he and Jackson Pollock and Mark Rothko were all in the same art circle. So after the theft, there was some publicity, but most of it seems to have been focused in Tucson papers. So bear in mind that this is pre-internet. So not every story is going to travel the way it does now. So there were a number of articles written by the Daily Star, the Tucson Citizen, even the student newspaper, the Daily Wildcat. And the biggest thing that people noticed is that there was a severe security lapse. Much of that rested on the fact that there was no security camera system in the museum. They, of course, got one after the painting was stolen. But it also did circulate on more specific routes. So I'm showing you, this is the International Foundation for Art Research. This is an organization that still exists. They work a lot with not only stolen art, but also authenticating questionable objects. And so every couple of months, they would issue what's called a stolen art alert. So you can see that woman ochre is included in the stolen art alert. So any person who subscribes to this magazine would have gotten it. But this is really a magazine that's for people who work at museums or for galleries. It's, it's not like Life magazine where every household would have gotten this alert. It was later added to the FBI's National Stolen Art File. So this is an online database that you can search whenever you want, and you can see sort of the top 10 list. You can see any artwork, I think that's over the value of $5,000 is put on here. And art theft is considered to be a federal crime because it's cultural heritage. And so it does not only belong to the local police, but the FBI always becomes involved as sort of the keepers of cultural heritage. When our painting was stolen, the FBI did not have a dedicated art crime team. They now do. Okay, so fast forward to the year 2015. It's the 30th anniversary of the theft. So for the 30th anniversary of the theft, we decided to commemorate the theft by holding a program on art crime. So we talked about the fakes and forgeries that are in our collection. That's a whole other interesting talk. We talked about woman ochre. We hung up the empty frame. We hung up an image of the painting as well as the police sketches. And then we invited Special Agent Meredith Savona from the FBI art crime team to come and speak about art crime. So a lot of people came to this event. And most importantly, we got a lot of media coverage of this event, which was hugely important to us because, again, this theft happened pre-internet. And so really most people never knew about it. And this story went international. It was really, really incredible. So here I'm just showing you one headline. This is from the Arizona Republic. Again, you can see it was originally published November 24th, 2015. And this article proves very important because just 2 years later, on August 3rd, 2017, I got a call from a man named David Van Acker. So in this phone call, he said that he had our stolen painting. So I was just sitting in my office. It was a normal day. I was chatting with my coworker, and I could hear the security guard walkie-talkies going because we have them down here. So everyone's kind of in the loop. And I hear one of the security guards paging another one and says, "Hey, Jim, I have a man on the phone who says he has our stolen painting." And so he tells them to transfer the phone call to me. And so I get the phone call, and David, I can tell he's trying to sound very calm. And he says, "This is going to sound crazy. My name is David Van Acker. I'm from Silver City, New Mexico, and I have your stolen DeKooning." He said, "I'm looking at the painting, And I'm looking at this article from the Arizona Republic, and he said, it's the same painting. So I said, okay, well, tell me more information. You know, how did you come about the painting? And he said, well, I bought some items at an estate sale and I was doing some research online and I found the article. So I said, okay, send me some photographs of the painting. First and foremost, I wanted to make sure that he was talking about an actual painting and not a reproduction, because it does happen from time to time where people think that they found something original and it turns out to be a reproduction. So I said I wanted an image of the front, of the back. That's what you see here. On the back, there was a piece of masonite screwed to the back. So that didn't tell me a whole lot. I can see that the painting is now framed. So that was interesting. He sent some images of the back taken at a sort of 3/4 angle. The image on the right was particularly interesting because I could see that there was paint along the side. And I could also see towards the bottom of that image, this irregular cut. And I knew that when the painting was sliced from the frame, that it was done very quickly. And so there were some sort of undulating edges. So every picture he sent, we were getting more and more excited and nervous. I asked for some details of the signature. The signature, you know, I'm not a DeKooning expert. It looked like a DeKooning signature. I was actually more excited about the black drips that you see here and how shiny they looked, because I knew that DeKooning not only worked with artist paints, but also worked with house paint, and that some of his paint was particularly, had a particular sheen to it. The image on the right was also very exciting because you could see that there was paint actually on the surface of the canvas. We were getting a sense of 3 dimensions here. So I could tell that we weren't working with like a paper reproduction. One of the things that he mentioned in his phone call, he said, there are cracks, there's lines across the painting as if it's been rolled up. And so I asked for detail of the cracks, and you see that here. So I have to say, after we got all of these images over here at the museum, we were losing our minds. We were freaking out. Most of us were pretty well convinced that this was indeed the painting. And this was actually even before I asked for the dimensions. And it dawned on me, I should ask for the dimensions. What if this is like a miniature painting? And he said the dimensions were 39 by 29, which was only an inch off of what they were supposed to be. So that again corresponded to it being cut and reframed. A couple hours later, he did end up taking the masonite off the back of the painting. So he sent this photo here on the left. It was interesting to see the back. It confused me a bit because I wasn't sure what to expect. The only image that we had of the back was this black and white one that you see on the right. And this was taken before it was lined with the wax lining in 1974. But I could see that there were some details here. So you can see this little green patch in the upper left-hand corner of the photo that David sent. And then you can see there's this dark splotch in the black and white photograph. There's this little drip in the middle of the photo that David sent. And that's very hard to see here, but there actually is a drip in the black and white photograph as well. I was very confused by this canvas patch over here. I wasn't sure what was happening there. So what happens next? We have all these photos, we're losing our minds. And so we decide, okay, we probably need to call UAPD. So we call the University of Arizona Police Department. They come over right away. We send them all of the pictures. You know, they seem, you know, cautiously optimistic about the whole thing. And they say, okay, we're going to open up a new report. Send all these photos to your contact at the FBI. We will also be in touch with her at the FBI, and we'll take it from here. And I said, okay, great. I'm going to call David and let him know that things are moving, and you know, you'll be in touch. And she's like, actually, you know, we'll take it from here. You don't need to call him anymore. We don't want any side conversations happening. So that was extremely stressful for us because I was really, so I should say that when he called, he said, I want to give the painting back. He said, it's your painting. I want to let you know I have it. We of course want the museum to have it. I was really nervous that if the police didn't act quickly enough, that he would end up changing his mind, that he would start looking at auction records. He would realize how much the painting is worth and that he would try to keep it. So I was very, very nervous. It turns out David was also very nervous because he wasn't hearing from us. He wasn't hearing from the police. He wasn't hearing from the FBI. And all he knew was that he had this very, very valuable painting that didn't belong to him, and he had no idea what to do with it. So I'm going to play you a voicemail from him so you can get an understanding of his mental state at the time. You really feel for the guy. You might need to adjust your computer level.
Hi, Olivia. This is Dave Anoffer in Silver City, New Mexico. I'm the one with the DeKooning painting.
You hear this?
If you could give me a call, I would really appreciate it. I dropped that painting off at a friend of ours who's an attorney because the FBI told me to put it somewhere safe. Now, all of a sudden, I have vulture attorneys wanting me to do things, and I don't want to do it. And so I need to speak to you or maybe one of the university's attorneys or something. Keep this on record. I want the museum to have the painting back. If it's their painting, if it's your painting, if it's authentic, I want you to have it back. I don't want to sue for it. I don't want to hold it hostage. I don't want to hold it ransom. I want you to have the painting back. I just got a phone call from a high-powered attorney in Albuquerque who represents Georgia O'Keeffe claims and intellectual rights attorney. I don't want to do this. All I want is that painting to go back where it belongs. And just freaking out because I'm not hearing from you guys and I'm hearing from them and they're like, you got to hire us and you have to this and you have to that. I want the painting somewhere safe. I didn't sleep at all last night with it behind my sofa. I slept with a gun because people know that we had a DeKooning. They don't know it's this one. But, somebody might cut my throat for a DeKooning painting. I don't know how to store it. I don't know if you guys want to come pick it up. I don't know whether I need to take it to the bank and have it put in the vault. Anyway, I would really appreciate it if you could give me a call back.
So I think you can get an idea of David's mental state at the time. So just to kind of rehash what he was talking about, he was going through a huge panic because he wasn't hearing from us. What he was hearing instead was from all of these other people. People were offering him money for the painting. One guy offered him $200,000 to buy the painting on the spot. Other people were lawyers saying, hey, you actually have title to this painting. You bought it at an estate. And because you bought it and it's in your possession, you can try to get something out of this. So he has all of these people who are telling him to do the wrong thing. And all he wants to do is do the right thing. So it felt like a very long time. But the next evening we got the go ahead to drive to Silver City and to go and pick up the painting. So what was really weird is that when we went to this house, I don't know if you made it out in the phone call, he said he stored it at a friend's house. The FBI told him, everyone in Silver City knows you have this painting, you need to put it somewhere safe. So he brought it over to a friend's house. Well, everyone knew his friend had it because his friend was actually having a party this night. So when we got there on a Friday night, the house was full of people. They'd all been drinking. They're all videotaping us and taking pictures. It was a very weird, very energetic scene. But it's kind of nice because they were able to capture, a moment like this where I saw the painting for the first time. So it's hard to describe what that was like. What I want to stress is that the painting that I saw for the first time is the one on the right. The painting that I knew before were these two images on the left. So we never had great photography of this artwork. The one on the far left is from a very old slide. It's truer in color, but it's a little too pink. It's also not very detailed. The one in the middle is very detailed, but you can see it's very blue in shade. And so that wasn't true to the painting either. So finally seeing it in person was like, I had seen, this was my first time seeing the actual object, and then seeing it in its semi-true colors, it was really surreal. So we packed the painting, and I like this scene just because you can see there's all these people crowding in the hallway, just to give you an idea of how many people were there and kind of the chaos that it felt very chaotic. So we packed the painting and then we took it to the Grant County Sheriff's Station and it was stored there over the weekend. So I want to just give you this brief timeline. I've kind of run you through the timeline, but I just want to show you this to give you an idea of kind of the major steps and how quickly everything happened. So I got the phone call on a Thursday afternoon. By Friday at 6 p.m., we start driving to Silver City. We actually weren't allowed in the house initially, so that's why it took 5 hours for us to actually get to the house. And then by Saturday, 2 a.m., the painting is secured. Monday morning, the painting returns to the museum, and then Wednesday afternoon, it is examined by a conservator, and I'll talk about that in just a second. And just to give you an idea of the chaos, this is how many people were involved in that 36-hour period. So we literally spent all day on Friday on the phone with lawyers, with the police department, risk management, UA communications, because David had also called the reporter from the Arizona Republic and she was ready to report the story much more quickly than we wanted her to. So it was really stressful. So we got the painting back and before the news broke, we wanted to make sure that we didn't fall flat on our faces. We wanted to make sure that this was indeed the painting that was stolen from our museum. So we did what's called a preliminary authentication process. So here is Kristen and Nathan unpacking the painting from the crate. And here is Dr. Nancy Odegaard and her assistant. They took the painting out of the frame. Dr. Nancy Odegaard is a emeritus professor and chief conservator at the Arizona State Museum, which is also on the University of Arizona campus. She is not a paintings conservator, she's an objects conservator. So her focus is basketry and pottery, but she felt comfortable enough where she could give us an overall assessment of the condition of the artwork and confirm whether or not this was the same painting that was taken. We looked at it with its spotlit from the back. So you can see all of these lines, very, very brittle. Also this weird canvas patch. She also looked at it under a UV light. A UV light is helpful because you're able to see, you can see where the finger is pointing, little areas of paint loss that are a bit more difficult to see with the naked eye. Certain pigments fluoresce. And that can give you an indication of what type of pigment is used, whether or not it's original to the painting or not. So there were certain areas that were glowing that should not have been glowing. Other pigments like this orange pigment that is supposed to glow. So, you know, conservators know all about what these pigments are supposed to do. And lastly, and this was really the only thing we needed to do to tell that the painting was indeed ours, was to place the painting on top of the remnants that were left behind. So the bottom is the wax lining and the edges it was cut from. And you can see this beautiful paint stroke that was just slashed. This is also a good image where you can see the extent of the damage. So the thieves, after they stole the painting, decided to re-stretch it. So that's where they attached the painting to a structural support, to wooden stretcher bars. They stapled it and then they screwed it into the frame. So all of these have left holes behind in what is supposed to be the surface of the painting. The other thing we needed to do is just tighten up the provenance, just to make sure that, and provenance refers to the history of ownership of the painting. From the moment it left its studio, where did it go? Where was it exhibited? Who bought it? When? And just to ensure that, because we knew that this was going to be big news and we didn't want anybody to start getting ideas about whether or not David had title to it or we did, or if they want to sell it. And so we said, let's make sure we have all of the paperwork associated with it. We had the original brochure. So it was originally shown in 1955 at the Martha Jackson Gallery. Lucky for us, it was the cover image they used for the brochure. We contacted the University of Buffalo because they have the Martha Jackson Gallery archives, and we asked for any information they had associated with this painting. What was really wonderful is they have this wonderful letter that was written by Edward Gallagher on the left-hand side, and he's begging Martha to sell it. So apparently she told him it was in her private collection. And he's pleading with her. He says, have a heart, break down, and do your part for the Southwest art, and make a contribution to a little boy's memory. The very best price for the DeKooning, for this will round out a wonderful addition to the new acquisitions. And then she responds and says, as you know, this was part of my private collection, which is not for sale. However, when you explained the importance of the collection you were making as a memorial to your son for the University of Arizona, I was finally persuaded to part with this extraordinary work of art. And then they also sent us confirmation that he paid. So this was a letter he sent saying, here's my check. And then we have the gallery notes saying that the check was deposited. So this just, it gave us peace of mind that, you know, there was no question, no doubt that this painting was given to us and meant for the University of Arizona. So apart from that, what on earth is the story with this painting? What we know is that it was stolen in 1985 and it was found hanging in the bedroom of this couple, Jerry and Rita Alter. So Rita died in 2017. Jerry had died about 10 years prior. So when David went out to the estate, as it turns out, David and his two partners own a store called Manzanita Ridge. And this is a store in downtown Silver City where they sell antiques, they sell high-end hotel furniture. And so they often go to estate sales and buy things to resell in their store. So they were asked to drive out to Cliff, New Mexico, which is about 45 minutes from Silver City. It's a tiny town, like maybe 200 or 300 people live there, very remote. And they were asked to come and look at this estate. And this is exactly how they found Woman Ochre, hanging in this very tight spot in their bedroom behind the door. And here's a photograph of Jerry and Rita. Just to bring back the police sketches, you can make your own opinion if you think they look like them. There are some similarities that are really hard to ignore. I mean, if you look at his glasses, his dark hair, if you imagine him with a fake mustache, she did have strawberry blonde hair, and they did have a red sports car. So those are the facts. I mean, it's hard for me to think otherwise. The FBI hasn't told us anything, you know, confirming or denying if they were the ones who stole the painting, but it's really hard not to think that way. And I'll go back to that couple in just a second. But right now, I just want to give you an update on where the painting currently is. Right now, it's at the Getty Center in Los Angeles. It went there in 2019 for conservation. Part of the Getty Center's philanthropic mission is to take outside conservation projects and conduct research and do the conservation work there, which we are so grateful for because this painting needed a lot of care. So it's at the Getty. The conservation work is taking a lot longer than initially predicted, mostly due to the pandemic. So they were not able to work on the painting as much throughout the pandemic. So some of the biggest issues are reuniting the painting with its edges. So here you can see Laura Rivers and Ulrich Berkmeyer holding the painting with its edges. Here's just a little detail that shows you this, you know, tear that they have to deal with. The cracking in the paint is definitely the most time-consuming thing that they've had to do, that they've had to work on. It's kind of a two-step process. So the first part of the process is this. So Laura Rivers spent literally an entire year staring through a microscope, using a modified dental pick and this heating tool to manually adhere these tiny microscopic paint flecks that have just been hovering on the surface and putting them back in their spots. It's also like a microscopic puzzle because when they rolled up the painting, some of the paint flecks were displaced. So she might find a paint fleck from over here in one corner and have to put it back in another corner over here. And so this is what she spent a year doing. The other issue is they also need to contend with the conservation work that the thieves did. So when they stole the painting, additional tears happened. So in this left picture, you can see two horizontal lines. These are tears that happened probably during the theft when you ripped it from the wax lining that they glued back together. You can see a little detail of a tear with the canvas thread hanging here. And then you can also see that they in-painted it themselves. So there's this patch of paint in the photograph on the right where you can see that it's more of a matte color. It's not shiny the way it's supposed to be. So they have to clean all that off. This couple also did a spray varnish, so they had to clean the varnish off. Oh, and I should mention the areas of these tears correspond to where that canvas patch was on the back. So they also applied a canvas patch to the back with Elmer's glue, probably to reinforce and strengthen this area that had torn. So these are the guys who found the painting. So that's Buck Burns on the left. In the center is David Van Acker, who called me. And on the right is Rick Johnson. So the three of them are the ones who own the store. And the three of them are the ones who immediately agreed with each other that, you know, they were going to give the painting back. So for the latest update, there is a documentary that is out. It's not yet available on streaming services. Right now, it's traveling the film festival circuit. So I'm going to show you the trailer for this documentary.
It wasn't a heist you'd see in a Hollywood movie.
Authorities still don't know who took it.
It's a mystery, an unsolved case.
Many thought a $160 million masterpiece was gone forever until it turned up in Silver City.
There's basically three types of thieves. The first type is the theft of opportunity. The second is the individuals who are doing it for money.
And then there's the third kind of art thief, and that's the art thief who steals for themselves.
And those are the most dangerous.
Rita and Jerry Alter were my aunt and uncle. Oh, they were definitely soulmates, and he would do anything for her.
Their house was full of souvenirs from their travels around the world.
It seems like this couple is really the story here. They're the mystery.
If you've got the right psychology, you go after that painting. You take it, you make it yours.
They saw themselves as
Masters of victimless crimes.
It's just crazy to me that it was just hanging up on their wall.
We didn't know the real Jerry and Rita.
The thief collector is the darkest of them all.
Wasn't it worth about 300,000?
160 million.
Yeah. Well, my personal opinion, I wouldn't give you $5 for it.
All right. Well, that is the end of my presentation, and I am happy to answer any questions you might have.
There's only one so far that has appeared. Well, thank you, first of all. Just fascinating, absolutely fascinating. From just appreciating the painting to going, what prompts two people to just think, okay, I'll take this. In any case, the question that we have relates to whether or not DeKooning or anyone in his family did they know that the painting had been stolen, and were they involved in any way in the recovery process?
That's a really good question. I don't know if they ever knew it was stolen. Like I said, in 1985, DeKooning was still alive, but had pretty advanced dementia at that point. At that time, the DeKooning Foundation had not yet been established. After we found the painting, we did immediately contact the DeKooning Foundation. And so they were not directly helpful in the recovery process, but they've been helpful in lots of other ways, you know, helping us with provenance research and things like that. His two granddaughters now, I guess you could say, are the owners of the foundation, however that works. And so we're hoping that they will come and see the painting in person. And the painting, I should have mentioned it in the talk, the painting will go on view at the Getty on June 7th. It will be on view there through August 28th. That is the deal we arranged, where they do all the conservation work for free and they get to exhibit it first. It will come back here to our museum and go on view to the public on Saturday, October 8th. And we will
Oh.
keep it up for a very long time.
Oh, how wonderful. Security cameras in place.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, wonderful. There's also a question relating to how much David paid for the painting at the estate sale.
Great question. So he didn't buy the painting individually. By the time it got to him, the couple had left their estate to their nephew, and their nephew lived in Texas. You know, he couldn't really manage the house. So I know he took some personal effects, and then he basically told the realtor, you know, we need to sell the house, please help me. And so the realtor called Manzanita Ridge and asked the guys to come and look at the estate. So they bought everything for $2,000, and that included the painting.
Okay. Was there anything else of value in the house to the art world?
There was, certainly not to the extent of the DeKooning. There was an authentic Frederick Remington sculpture. There were a couple other nice Western paintings, but nothing close to the value of the DeKooning. They had, and this is a lot of what the documentary talks about, this couple was extremely adventurous. They traveled to more than 120 countries. And that part is really weird because they didn't come from a lot of money in terms of their family. He retired as a music teacher at the age of 45, and she worked as a speech therapist for the public schools in Silver City. So these were not Fortune 500, you know, couples. And so there is some suspicion as to how they funded their very adventurous lifestyle.
And also, what happened to them now? Are they're deceased or?
They are deceased. So he died, I think, in 2007.
Okay.
And then she died in 2017. By that time, she had Alzheimer's, and I think she ultimately passed away from a stroke. You know, they were both, I'm not sure exactly how old they were, but they definitely lived long lives. And if they were indeed the couple who took it, they never got caught. They definitely got away.
Oh, that's amazing. And lastly, let's see. What's the subject of your dissertation?
Oh, thank you for asking. Yes, so my dissertation is about the founding collection of our museum. So it's called the Pfeiffer Collection. And I'll give you the very quick summary. This is a collection of roughly 100 American paintings that were donated during World War II. And they were donated by an alum, Charles Leonard Pfeiffer, who at the time we didn't have a museum. We were a little one-room gallery, and he was really adamant that Tucson needed a good art collection. And so I'm looking at how he defined American art, because he stressed that it needed to be living American artists. I'm also looking at the sort of patriotism that is associated with arts philanthropy, particularly at this time during World War II. And so, so that's all kind of interesting. And that's what I'm looking at.
Well, that sounds intriguing from the standpoint of an art gallery and museum visitor. Will that research and that be available anytime, or is this just solely a scholastic endeavor?
I mean, it's a little bit of both. I was very specific that I wanted to pick a topic that related to my museum work, so that there could be a sort of public component associated with it. We do currently have part of the Pfeiffer collection on display. So if you visit the museum, you can get an idea of some of the artists he selected for the museum. But I do hope that I would do an exhibition in conjunction with my dissertation.
Oh, that would be wonderful. And I should have mentioned originally or initially that Olivia has also given presentations via OLLI and the Arizona Humanities Seminars. So we will certainly look forward to seeing you in the future and perhaps seeing the results of your research. If there's anything else, here from Susan, Where's the museum building located? On the
Yes.
U of A campus?
Great question. So you can't really see us from the road. We are on the southeast corner of Park and Speedway. So if you want to come and visit, I recommend parking in the Park Avenue garage, and then you can walk under the underpass. And I saw also, thank you so much for mentioning art trivia. Yes, we do a monthly art trivia on Zoom at the museum, and no previous art knowledge is required. You'll find that the questions are, there's many different angles from which to approach the question. So sometimes it's directly about the art, sometimes it's another fun fact. So we will have an art trivia next Thursday, actually.
And actually, conveniently, it seems to me, it's at a happy hour time.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, again, thank you so very much, Olivia. This has just been enlightening and stimulating. Best to you and the museum and the security cameras. Okay. Thank you so very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, Marie. How's that?
Very good.
Very good. Well, that was a wonderful presentation. And thank you, Olivia, for your insight in art. And I learned a lot. So I appreciate your time today. Let's turn it over to Henny, who has a word to say about our recent project that she was instrumental in. Oh, no. I have to back up. I'm so sorry. I have to open up with the mission statement. Forgive me. AAUW advances gender equity for women and girls through research, advocacy, and education. That's why I joined AAUW. So it's special to my heart. Now we can turn it over to Henny.
Thank you, Marie. Yes, we had a very successful drive to gather feminine hygiene products for the Saharita Food Bank. We ended up providing 155 items for them, and they have been extremely appreciative. So a very big thank you to all of you who donated.
Well, thank you, Henny, for spearheading this project. It blew me away when I realized how many women, young girls, women that miss education. They can't go to school because they don't have products. And that just broke my heart. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. And now I know that Jerry wants to talk a bit about membership.
I thought I had unmuted myself. So I'm trying to unmute. Am I unmuted now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Multiple ways. Oh, I do want to say I'm happy to see that we have 32 members with us today. I'd like to think that were we in person, we would have had 133 people in session. But so we do have a good start on our membership card for this year. I don't know. We have already at least 2 new members. So if they're here today, I would like to welcome them. But
Jerry, you're very hard to understand. I don't know if I'm the only one having difficulty.
Okay,
I can't hear.
Oh, that's much better, whatever you
Okay.
do.
I have a very directional microphone, which I sometimes forget. At any rate, we have more than 25 more than 25 renewals and 2 new members. So, and we have several memberships that have not been processed yet. So we have a good start. I want to remind you that the membership form is available on the website. If anybody needs it, Kathy, I noticed, sent out the renewal form with the reminder for the meeting. I'm always available. Donna Ray is always available if you have any questions about membership. In particular, if you have friends who are thinking about joining, we do have the Shape the Future program, which offers half-price membership for new members. So again, we look forward to having larger groups in the fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. The last thing on the agenda is the installation of the new officers. But first, I would like to sincerely thank those outgoing board members who contribute so much to this organization. There's Susan Peterson, for 2 years, has given her heart and soul as co-president. Thank you, Susan. Judy Willoughby for programs. I mean, the programs have been stellar. I mean, I can't thank you enough. I know it's not an easy job. Stacy Meyer as recording secretary. Wonderful job. I mean, I couldn't do that. I mean, the detail and being able to put everything together is wonderful. And then Liz Adams as corresponding secretary. We all express our gratitude to the outgoing appointed and ancillary committee chairs. We thank all of you who serve and will continue to serve as board or appointed committee chairs, those who serve as interest group chairs, and who participated in our activities. Oh, and this is a biggie. Our tech team trio, a special recognition, who facilitate our Zoom meetings that keep us tied together throughout this pandemic. And that is Henny, Kathy, Judy. Oh my, thank you so very, very much. And we also thank Donna Ray, who keeps our website untangled. Thank you, Donna. So let's introduce our new officers or renewing officers. There's Linda Interline as the new co-president, Jerry Peterson, vice president of membership, Donna Ray, vice president of membership elect, Eileen Bond, vice president programs elect, Annie Stitt, treasurer, who is in her second term. Thank you. Gail Garrison, treasurer elect, Carolyn Morley for recording secretary, and Stacy Meyer, corresponding secretary. Thank you all. So at this point, I just want to thank you for your support, your trust, your commitment to this group. I know you appreciate the honor conferred upon you by your election. The affiliate has expressed confidence in you. So if you would, here is our oath, and I'll ask you this question, and then please respond with I do. Do you promise on your honor that you will carry out the duties of your office to which you have been elected to best of your ability, in harmony with the bylaws and policies of AAUW Green Valley and furtherance of the mission of AAUW? So if you agree, please respond, I do.
I do.
I do. Wonderful. I look forward to, we have one next general meeting in May, and then we're off for the summer. And I look forward to working with all of you in the fall. And thank you again for your commitment. I will see you all in May. Take care.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Have a great day. Thank you.